Welcome to our UGC NET English Literature Preparation Series. Let's begin with our question 31. The question is, which of the following is not true about Raymond Williams' views on culture? Here are the options. Option 1, culture is ordinary. Option 2, culture is a whole way of life. Option 3, the masses do not participate in the creation of cultural values. And option 4, there exists at least 3 layers of culture at a given point of time in a society: dominant, residual, and emergent. Think carefully about Williams' core ideas. Have you got it? Yes, the correct answer is option 3. The masses do not participate in the creation of cultural values. Here is why this is fundamentally opposed to Williams' thought. Raymond Williams was a founding figure of cultural studies and argued passionately against the elitist view that culture is only the domain of privileged few. His concept that culture is ordinary, option 1, means it arises from the common shared experiences of all people in a society. His definition of culture as a whole way of life, option 2, explicitly includes the meanings, practices, and values created by the masses in their everyday lives. His model of dominant, residual, and emergent cultural forces, option 4, describes how cultural changes happens precisely through the struggle and contributions of all social groups, not just the elite. Therefore, stating that the masses do not participate in the creation of cultural values completely inverts Williams' views. He argued they are central to its creation. So the statement that is not true is the one that excludes the masses from the cultural production. Remember, Williams democratized culture. Now let's proceed to the next question. The question is, who among the following declared in 1920 that there is no longer any intellectual life in England? Here are the options. Option 1, Dorothy Richardson. Option 2, Virginia Woolf. Option 3, Ezra Pound. Option 4, T.S. Eliot. Just think about it. Have you got the answer? The correct answer is option 3, Ezra Pound. Here is the background behind this famous declaration. Ezra Pound, the American poet and a central figure in the modernist movement, was known for his relentless criticism. Throughout his letters and critical writings, he frequently expressed his frustration for the stagnation and complacency of the English literary establishment. So for this specific provocative declaration about the death of English intellectual life, the source is Ezra Pound. Let's continue to the next question. The question is, which one of these is not a literary journal or magazine? Here are the options. Option 1, The Egoist. Option 2, The Criterion. Option 3, The English Review. And option 4, The 101 Dalmatians. One of these things is not like the others. Which one stands out? Just think. The 101 Dalmatians. Here is the breakdown. The Egoist, option 1, was a hugely important London-based modernist literary magazine. It famously serialized James Joyce's A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man and published T.S. Eliot and Ezra Pound. The Criterion, option 2, was the influential literary journal edited by T.S. Eliot himself from 1922 to 1939. The English Review, option 3, was a prestigious literary journal founded in 1908. It published giants like Thomas Hardy and D.S. Lawrence. The 101 Dalmatians, option 4, is the classic 1956 children's novel. It is a beloved book, but it is absolutely not a literary journal or magazine. Now let's proceed to question number 34. The question is, according to Greek mythology, who is a Psyche in John Keats' Ode to Psyche? Here are the options. Option 1, a mortal woman. Option 2, Cupid. Option 3, an immortal woman. And option 4, Venus. Think about the original myth and how Keats treats her in his poem. Have you got the answer? The correct answer is option 1, a mortal woman. Keats' Ode is revolutionary because he chooses to worship Psyche in his poetry. becoming her priest and building a temple in his mind. So while kids treat her as a goddess in his poem, her mythological identity begins as a mortal. Remember this key distinction between her origin and her later status. Okay? Now let's proceed to question number 35. The question is, which among the following is not written by a sports person? Here are the options. Option 1, Open, an autobiography. Option 2, Unbreakable, an autobiography. Option 3, Playing It My Way, my autobiography. And option 4, A Country Called Childhood, a memoir. One of these autobiographies has a very different kind of author. Have you spotted it? Just think about it. Yes, the correct answer is option 4, A Country Called Childhood, a memoir. Here is the breakdown of the authors. Option 1, Open, is the raw and celebrated autobiography of the legendary tennis champion Andre Agassi. Option 2, Unbreakable, is the autobiography of one of India's greatest cricketers, Mithali Raj. Option 3, Playing It My Way, is the autobiography of the iconic Indian cricketer Sachin Tendulkar. And option 4, A Country Called Childhood, is a memoir, but it's by the acclaimed Indian poet, actress and writer. This is the question. Identify the poet of the following poems. A. The Skylark, B. The Badger, C. The Gypsy Camp, and D. Fast Love. Here are the options. Option 1, P.B. Shelley. Option 2, John Clare. Option 3, Lord Byron. And option 4, Robert Burns. Just think about it. Are you ready? Yes, the correct answer is option 2, John Clare. Let's have a short explanation. John Clare, known as the peasant poet, is celebrated for his incredibly vivid and heartfelt descriptions of the English countryside, its wildlife, and the life of rural folk. Let's look at the poems listed. A. The Skylark. Clare wrote a beautiful poem with this exact title, observing the birds' flight and song. Option B, The Badger. This is one of Clare's most famous poems, a gritty and empathetic portrayal of a badger being baited. C, The Gypsy Camp. Clare wrote several poems about gypsies, depicting their transient life with great sympathy. And then D, that is Fast Love. This is a classic Clare poem about the overwhelming and sudden power of first love. While P.B. Shelley also wrote a famous To a Skylark, he did not write about badgers or gypsy camps with the same first-hand rustic knowledge. The other poets don't match this specific collection of themes. So, now let's proceed to question number 37. The question is, which among the following statement is not true about NEP 2020? Here are the options. Option 1, NEP 2020 recommends that there should be high quality learning and print material in Indian languages. Option 2, the policy recommends early implementation of 3-language formula to promote multilingualism. Option 3, the policy recommends that English language should be the only medium of instruction at elementary level. Option 4, the policy recommends teaching in local language wherever possible. Your task is to find the statement that goes directly against the spirit and letter of the National Education Policy. So think about it. Have you identified? Yes, the correct answer is option 3. The policy recommends that English language should be the only medium of instruction at elementary level. Let's have a short explanation. Option 1 is true because NEP 2020 strongly emphasizes creating high quality educational resources in Indian languages to revitalize them. Option 2 is also true because the policy actively promotes multilingualism and the flexible implementation of the 3-language formula. Then option 4 is also true. A cornerstone of NEP 2020 is that Wherever possible, the medium of instruction until at least grade 5 must preferably till grade 8 should be the home language, mother tongue, local language or regional language. But option 3 is false because this statement is the exact opposite of the policy's directive. NEP 2020 does not recommend English as the only medium. In fact, it advocates for the use of native languages to ensure better understanding and cognitive development. Okay, so let's proceed to the next question. The question is, which among the following poems has not been composed by P.B. Shelley? Here are the options. Option 1, to Wordsworth. Option 2, Mutability. Option 3, Hymn to Intellectual Beauty. And option 4, When We Two Parted. One of these famous poems belongs to another great romantic poet. Just think about it. Yes, could you find the answer? The correct answer is option 4, When We Two Parted. Let's have a short explanation. Option 1, to Wordsworth, is indeed a sonnet by Shelley written in tribute to William Wordsworth, though it also critiques his later conservative turn. Option 2, Mutability, is a well-known Shelley poem that reflects on the constant change and impermanence in human life. Option 3, Hymn to Intellectual Beauty, is a major philosophical poem by Shelley addressing the abstract spirit of beauty that visits the human world. And option 4, When We Two Parted, is a poem of quiet despair and lost love, but it was written by Lord Byron, not Shelley. Its tone and style are characteristic of Byron's more personal and lyrical works. Now let's proceed to question number 39. This is the question. Name the poet who has composed the following poems. A. The Divine Image. B. The Holy Thursday. C. The Little Boy Lost. And D. The Little Boy Found. Here are the options. Option 1, William Shakespeare. Option 2, William Blake. Option 3, William Collins. And option 4, Samuel Johnson. Just think about it. Yes, the correct answer is option 2, William Blake. Let's have a short explanation. All 4 of these poems are from William Blake's Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience. A. The Divine Image is from Songs of Innocence. It celebrates mercy, pity, peace, and love as divine attributes in humanity. B. The Holy Thursday actually exists as 2 poems, one in Songs of Innocence and the more critical part in Songs of Experience. C. The Little Boy Lost and D. The Little Boy Found are a paired set from Songs of Innocence. They tell a brief, symbolic story of spiritual guidance. Let's proceed to question number 40. The question is, what is not true about D.H. Lawrence's Sons and Lovers? We are given 5 statements. Statement 1, Sons and Lovers is a semi-autobiographical novel. Statement 1, Sons and Lovers is a semi-autobiographical novel. Statement 2, it is a psychological study of the familial and love relationship of a working class English family. Statement 3, the film adaptation of the novel was directed by Jack Cardiff. Statement D, the storyline traces 3 generations of Brangwen family. Statement E, the novel narrates the story of Paul Morrell, whose love for his beloved overshadows the affectionate bond with his mother. We have to choose the option that lists the statements which are not true. So think about it. Yes, the correct answer is option 3, D and E only. That means D and E are not correct. Let's analyze this carefully. Statement A is true. Sons and Lovers is famously semi-autobiographical by nature. It draws heavily on Lawrence's own youth in a mining town. Statement B is true. The novel is a landmark of psychological fiction. It deeply explores the complex Oedipal relationship between Morrell and his mother. Statement C is true. The 1960 film adaptation was indeed directed by Jack Cardiff. Statement D is false. This is the crucial error. The storyline tracing 3 generations of the Brangwyn family is the plot of D.S. Lawrence's latter novel, The Rainbow, not Sons and Lovers. The Morel family is the focus here. Then statement E is false and a major misinterpretation. This statement involves the novel's central conflict. False love for his mother overshadows and cripples his ability to love Clara or Miriam fully. His bond with his mother is the dominant destructive force, not the overshadowed one. Remember, Sons and Lovers is about the Morel family. Now, this is the end of today's session. Finally, thanks for watching. Kindly consider subscribing my channel. I will come with new and informative videos like this